It's suspension day.
Welcome back, riders. So today is the day to test out the Ohlins FSK 108s and of course the K-Tech Razor R shock. So as you might have seen in the Ohlins install video, I did take this out for a little spin. That red Yoda, he also took it out for a spin. I'm sure you probably saw kind of our initial feedback on it. Well, today we're actually going to go run the course that I did the other day with the stock suspension, and we're going to see how this thing holds up. Already a few things I noticed are different. Number one, the dive. We all know how annoying the stock fork dive is. You don't even have to give it a handful of brake. You just touch the brakes and the shit dives. That is completely gone. It is a progressive dive. So what do I mean by a progressive dive? Well, you know how when you're going in a corner and you squeeze the brakes very slowly, and then as you come out of the corner you release the brakes slowly? I give it brakes and it slowly starts to dive. I release and it comes back up, but it's not jerky like it is. So that's a good thing. Now, I haven't tested it too much on bumpy roads to see how the dampening is, although this is a bumpy road, and it seems to be feeling pretty smooth. The rear shock is really what I'm looking for. That was the most noticeable performance faux pas, in my opinion, was just how freaking crazy bad the rear suspension was. It feels great. When we first put it on and we set the sag to between 30-35 millimeter rear sag, Nicola got on it and he loved it. But then again, he's 6'4", 220 pounds. I'm 185, 190 is usually where I hover. So I had to come off about a full turn and a half. It feels much better. I might be able to tighten it up a little bit, but so far it feels much better than it did last night. The real test is going to be what this feels like on the road that we're headed to right now. I'm going to be hooking up cameras to the front end and to the rear end. I'm going to be riding this course, and at the end of this video, or at the end of the test ride, I'll kind of give you more of my impressions of how that is on the video. In the meantime, I'm going to head over there. I'm not going to bore you all with the ride. I'll just see you when we begin to take off. Alrighty, we are pulling up on our test course. So this is a shitty road. I mean, just look at the ground. It's potholed. It's bumpy as fuck. I mean, this is probably the extreme of what I might ever ride through out here. But nonetheless, this is a really cool course. It curves around. It's got some twists that go all the way back into that hill. There are patches that are nice. There are patches that look like this and patches that look like that. So this is going to be a really good test specifically for this fork kit and this rear shock. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the cameras on the bike, and then we'll head out and we'll see how it does. So first up is the rear shock test. We've got the camera on the rear shock. I'm trying to keep it at about 40, 45. That's about what I was riding at when we did the first test. I don't need to go too crazy because remember, this is more about bumpiness, dampening testing, how the preload is and everything. So far, so good. I have to say the road is still pretty smooth at this point, so I'm not noticing much. But as we turn around and head back the other way, you can see this side of the road has got a lot more bumps on it. So I went over a few bumps, and I can already tell it's much better. We're gonna get into some corners up here though, and that'll really be a good tell. Oh yeah, much, much, much better. Surprisingly, not only is it good on the rear shock, it's really good on the fronts. These forks are really soaking up these bumps. All right, so now we'll turn around and we'll head the other way. This is a really good corner, lots of ruts and bumps. The next one too is about a 90 degree and it's full of potholes. Let's see how it does. Oh my gosh, a million times better. So I don't want you to think that you can't feel the bumps. You can, it's just they're not as hard. So that's really telling me that this fork cartridge and this rear shock are doing a hell of a lot better on the dampening than the stock shit. That alone is completely worth the $650, $700 total investment I've put into both of these suspension products. So as we wind down the rear test, now we're going to set up for the front. And here we go. So the biggest thing I'm looking out to test on this front fork kit is the dampening. And already with just some bumps, I can really feel the difference. We're gonna get into some corners up here in a second. But just the bumps and the straightaways, oh man, night and day difference. Also feels like the vibration is a little bit less too. Yeah, these bumps, I'm not really feeling these bumps in the bars at all. Let's see when we get into some turns here. There's some big bumps coming up into a few of these turns. Let's see if we can feel what it's like at lean. Oh yeah, that patch right there. I normally would be a little worried about that patch, but my confidence going into these ruddy turns has just increased tremendously. Oh yeah. Like, you know they're there, but they really don't feel bad, and you still feel like you have a lot of control on the bike. Oh yeah, it's just tearing these corners up with these ruts. Absolutely incredible. So I might have to go back and saying that I thought the K-Tech was the best improvement. I don't know. This FSK108 kit is phenomenally good. Yeah, I'm not feeling these bumps like I would with the stock. I'm hoping you guys get some good differential shots on this side-by-side comparison. But I can tell you, as the rider, it is 1,000 times better. Again, well worth the investment. So I'm gonna head back to the garage and we'll wrap this little video series up. Ohlins and K-Tech. You can't go wrong with those brands, baby. And we're back at the garage. I hope those videos side by side showed you the differences visually of the new suspension versus the stock suspension. I tried to line them up as best as possible. So hands down, suspension, the most noticeable mod I've done today. I'd even argue that it's probably the most important mod you can do to the bike. You really don't realize how mushy the stock suspension is until you put something else on it. The dampening is incredible. The rebounding is awesome. I'm really looking forward to getting it up into the canyons and seeing how it does up there. So let's talk about investment. Money-wise,
Total investment was about $650 to $700 for both the front and rear suspensions. How much time? Probably 2 to 3 hours, everything. But for what you get out of it, the money and the time is totally worth it. That's about all I got for you today. If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a member of this community. Tell me what you think about this video and all the videos in this series. Until then, ride safe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.